welcome back to the channel. Have some great videos for you today. I hope you like them. Please don't forget to hit the like button, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's jump in.
Aló. Hola, Carlos.
I don't understand why we have to pay to live on a planet we were born on. Humans are the only living thing that pays to live on this planet. Think about it. You didn't sign a contract when you took your first breath. You didn't agree to rent space on Earth, so why does every part of survival, food, water, land, come with a price tag? And here's the real question. Who are we even paying? Who decided they owned the land, the water, the resources? Who stood up one day and said, this all belongs to me and you owe me for existing? Now look at water. Covers most of the planet, falls from the sky, essential for life. Yet somehow people are dying of thirst. Instead of wasting billions on war, we could build desalination plants and give fresh water to everyone. The technology exists. But do we use it? No, because if people could take care of themselves, they wouldn't be controlled. That's the truth. Scarcity is a lie. There's enough food, enough land, enough resources for everyone. But if people weren't desperate, governments, corporations, and banks would lose power. So they manufacture struggle. They make sure you're always working, always paying, always needing. You're not just paying to live. You're paying to stay in your cage. I don't understand why we have to pay to live on a planet we were born on. Humans are the only living thing that pays to live on this.
He wasn't lying.
Do you know what this place is? It's located in the center of the North Pole. And it's the center of the Earth magnetic field, known as the Taurus field. That black thing in the center of the whirlwind is the tallest mountain on Earth, far more taller than the Mount Everest. It's so tall that even it peaks reaching out the clouds. It's the Rupes Nigra, or the Black Rock, also known as Mount Meru. Some people also called it Mount Zion. You wouldn't find this massive mountain existence in mainstream science and media because it's deliberately concealed. Because if the world knew that there is such a huge mountain in the center of the Earth, it would change the course of history. This includes the true nature of our world will be rewritten, and that will undo the globe-shaped Earth theory and the entire timeline of the Earth from the beginning, and they don't want that. Look how the wind stream passes through that mountain. It blocks the wind stream because of its height and size. The Rupes Nigra, or the Black Rock, describes by Mercator as 33 French miles in size, or roughly 40 miles in diameter. It's purportedly explain why all compasses point to this location. The biggest shareholder of all the major companies in the world is BlackRock. It's named after this mountain. Do you know what this place is?
Documented proof
found
of flat
extremely
Earth.
interesting. Official documentation claiming the Earth is flat, and that mathematical equations used in aeronautics assume a flat, non-rotating Earth. Check these out. This is a CIA document sourced from the Russians, and it's titled Dissertations Defended in the Scientific Council of the Institute of Physics of the Earth. In the document, it mentions a near sun and a formula that is derived on the assumption of a flat Earth. This United States Army document from the Army Research Laboratory on the propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth mentions transmitters placed on the surface of a flat, idealized Earth. In one of its figures, it also mentions flat Earth. In another Army Research Laboratory document, it depicts a diagram showing a flat Earth, crepuscular rays that we mentioned earlier, and a near and localized sun. Here's another document on projectile flight dynamics, and the equations in the document assume a flat Earth. Here's a NASA document on the derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model. Introduction. This report details the development of the linear model of rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. NASA document on the SR-71 Blackbird and its top speed of 2,193 miles per hour. Maneuvers depending on a non-turbulent atmosphere and a non-rotating Earth. Federal Aviation Administration document. Equations of motion assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth. Another NASA document. A rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. An aircraft model for the AIAA Controlled Design Challenge. Flight dynamics of a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. NASA Technical Paper 1285. Flat, non-rotating Earth. A NASA Georgia Tech project in conjunction with the U.S. Air Force. A model frequently used is that of a flat, non-rotating Earth. You might argue that some of these documents are taken out of context, but you have to admit that a lot of these flight calculations are based on a flat, non-rotating Earth because they come.
How can you take that out of context if it literally in print says flat, non-rotating Earth?
Right out and say it.
That when we view a train that is moving, we can see the smoke going behind it. But when we see a volcano erupting, the smoke goes straight up. But the Earth is supposed to be spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. Isn't it also crazy that when we have 130 mile per hour winds, everything is just destroyed as a hurricane, but this nice calm day, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour? What's also crazy is the Felix space jump, where he started his 2.5-hour ascension from Roswell, New Mexico, about 128,000 feet in the air. Then he jumped, took him 4 minutes to land, and he landed 44 kilometers away from where he started. Wait, what? 2.5 hours, 1,000 miles per hour spinning, lands 44 kilometers away from where he started. Yeah, that makes sense, right? You see, some of us aren't completely indoctrinated. We aren't sheep, and we know that this is all a lie. You see, we know that we've been lied to, and we trust our own eyes and our own senses. Funny how most people just trust Google right off the bat. It's quite literally laughable. Now, if you're a truth seeker who sees beyond the illusion and wants to connect with other truth seekers and crack the codes to this reality, then stick around and watch more eye-opening videos like this on this page. Peace and love.
200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball by Eric Dubay. 1. The horizon always appears perfectly flat, 360 degrees around the observer, regardless of altitude. All amateur balloon, rocket, plane, and drone footage show a completely flat horizon over 20-plus miles high. Only NASA and other government space agencies show curvature in their fake CGI photos and videos. 2. The horizon always rises to the eye level of the observer as altitude is gained, so you never have to look down to see it. If Earth were in fact a globe, no matter how large, as you ascended, the horizon would stay fixed, and the observer or camera would have to tilt, looking down further and further to see it. 3. The natural physics of water is to find and maintain its level. If Earth were a giant sphere, tilted, wobbling, and hurtling through infinite space, then truly flat, consistently level surfaces would not exist here. But since Earth is in fact an extended flat plane, this fundamental physical property of fluids, finding and remaining level, is consistent with experience and common sense. 200 Proofs Earth.
This is the only photo of Earth as shot by the Apollo 13 mission. Every other image you see of Earth is a CGI manipulated image. Open your eyes and mine. Wake up. We are being lied to.
Do not find it strange how we've literally got to contain the sea. Every sea line has a sea barrier. We have to contain the water so it doesn't flood our land. Now we think that we're living on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour around the vacuum of space, where gravity literally holds all of the water to its surface. Yet it doesn't stop a bumblebee flying around with no gravitational pull. So why do we have to contain the water? Because if the water was contained, it would stay sea level. And the horizon would always stay horizontal. Crazy that, isn't it, guys? Much love. Stay true.
That man was cooking right there.
I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
In whom do you place your trust? And do you believe in the Word of God radically enough to believe the biblical depiction of Earth? It's not just the biblical depiction, it's all depictions throughout history. The only one that's different is NASA. The Holy Bible, in which we place all of our foundation of belief and trust in, also gave us an example of what God's creation looked like. Having radical faith would mean that you believe God did, in fact, inspire these men to write these scriptures, and that God did, in fact, tell these prophets the truth as they wrote down all of the prophecy that we hold on to today. That includes the way that God described his creation to his prophets. Is your faith alone strong enough to agree with God and his creation that is depicted in the Bible? Or do you need some type of evidence to verify that there is a firmament above our heads? We can take a look at a couple of translations that were dedicated to preserving the original Greek and Hebrew. Complete Jewish Bible is one of them. And the Lexham English Bible was dedicated to being transparent and getting it as close as possible from the original text. A lot of people will try to say the word firmament in the Bible means sky, but as you see in the Hebrew depiction of the earth, there's the sky and there's the firmament. And in the complete Jewish Bible, it uses dome and sky in the same sentence right here. It says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The dome of the sky speaks the work of his hands." In Genesis, in the Lexham Bible, it also talks about the vaulted dome. It says, "Let there be a vaulted dome in the midst of the waters, and let it cause a separation between the waters." So God made the vaulted dome and caused the separation between the waters, which were under the vaulted dome, and between the waters, which were above the vaulted dome. Satan is a liar and a perverter. He cannot create his own creation, so what he has done is he has deceived the world into believing in his creation instead of God's creation. Not only does every globe picture we get look different from the last, but also Satan has put his number all throughout the math. Apparently, the Earth travels 66,600 miles an hour around the sun. Also, it's curved at 0.666 feet per mile squared. That's the spherical geometry. The Earth is tilted at 23.4 degrees, leaving 66.6 degrees in a 90-degree angle. This was all.
That's a lot of 666s.
Do you believe they're hiding more land from us? Well, I do. And I'm not even talking outside of the ice walls. The ice walls that surround our level, flat realm and contain all the water of the oceans. No, I'm talking places like the North Pole, where they just show desolate water. And maybe even places near Australia. Because when you look at old maps, like this Mercator map from 1569, you see places like this, and when blown up, look like this. And this North Pole, where they show that desolate water, is no longer on the maps. Now, did this disappear, or are they just hiding what our compasses are drawn to in the center of our flat realm? Because not only do they have treaties like the North Pole Treaty that prevents any independent travel to this area, but they also spent millions of dollars and thousands of hours of manpower creating what they call the dew line that is supposedly supposed to detect if anyone is coming across to the United States. But in my opinion, it's to detect if anyone's going towards that center.
Above the Arctic Circle comes the first film report of a 3,000-mile radar warning network across the top of the world. The distant early warning line, the dew line. In camps like this, from Baffin Bay across the continent to the Bering Sea, 5,000 men are working. With steam-assisted pile drivers, they're forging an electronic chain to give North America 6 hours of warning of enemy attack.
And that creation of that dew line just coincidentally happened to come a few years after Admiral Richard Byrd took a flight to the North Pole and didn't report seeing ice and snow, but land areas consisting of mountains, forest, green vegetation, lakes and rivers, and even an animal resembling a mammoth. So not only do I think they're hiding things in the north, but I think they're hiding things in the south. Because the Lord knows these controllers of the world, they like to put things in plain sight in movies. And when you look at current maps or globes and they look like this, but they show us this, and when you look at the logo for the United Nations that just happens to be a flat earth map in Australia, looks a bit longer than in the normal maps. And when you look at the Hammond map that just happens to be the map that all the pilots use and happens to be an exact match for the flat earth map, and again, Australia looks longer than they show us, you have to ask yourself, would they hide land from us? Would they hide it so we don't know the exact nature of this realm we live in? Would they hide it so they can have their own private islands, not governed by any officials? I know what I think, but I want to know what you think.
The Earth is flat, stationary, and enclosed by a glass dome known as the firmament, which contains the sun, moon, and stars, all of which move, not the Earth. Above and below are waters. This isn't a conspiracy. If satellites were really in space, why would we need communication towers in the middle of the ocean? A compass only functions properly on a flat surface to differentiate between north, east, south, and west. Water always stays level and contained, with the Arctic Circle and Antarctica acting as barriers that hold the oceans in. The solid glass dome or firmament keeps the air inside, creating a sealed, airtight environment. The Earth doesn't spin at millions of miles per hour like a ball. The sounds of thunder booms are produced when solid objects shift. Even world leaders know this truth, as shown by the flat Earth map on the UN logo. Once again, it's the sun, moon, and stars that rotate from east to west, not the Earth. The people who taught you that the Earth is a globe are fully aware of and believe in the flat, enclosed system we all live in and that no one can leave. We're told that we're spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting the sun in the heliocentric model at 66,600 miles per hour. On top of that, we're supposedly chasing the sun through space at nearly 500,000 miles per hour. According to this model, we're spiraling through an infinite universe, never in the same place twice. Now consider the Georgia Guidestones, which had a small hole drilled through one of the central stones. If you looked through that hole, you would always see Polaris, the North Star. But how could we be moving in so many directions, traveling vast distances, and yet that star remains perfectly aligned in the hole? It should shift out of sight constantly, yet it stayed in place for 40 years until one day someone blew up the monument. They say Earth spins eastward at 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator. So here's a question. How does a plane flying eastward at just 800 kilometers per hour reach its destination? Shouldn't the ground be moving too fast for the plane to catch up? And what about landing? Imagine trying to land a plane safely on a runway that's supposedly zipping along at 1,600 kilometers per hour. Sounds risky, doesn't it? The official explanation is that Earth's atmosphere is stuck to the planet, held by gravity despite the vacuum of space above it. But think about this. If Earth were a spinning ball, pilots would constantly need to adjust for the curve. At 800 kilometers per hour, a plane would have to lower its nose by around 850 meters per minute to stay on course with Earth's curvature. Otherwise, it would be flying higher and higher, reaching about 50,000 meters in just an hour. Yet pilots don't make these constant adjustments. Once they reach cruising altitude, they level off and maintain a steady course until it's time to descend. No constant corrections for Earth's curve, just a straight level flight path. Doesn't that raise questions? If Earth were really spinning and curving, wouldn't we see constant course corrections? But we don't. It's a compelling clue that maybe things aren't what we've been taught.
There's the Earth you live on.
Not much people has realized that nearly 100% of transoceanic data traffic is carried by undersea cables.
These lines are laid on the bottom of the ocean and usually carries the world's internet, phone calls, even TV transmissions between continents. If 100% of internet data is transmitted through underwater cables, that only means that communication satellites are totally unnecessary. I mean, there is no satellites floating out space. It is a scam since our ocean is our real space. This photo right here was installed year 1410, a 600-year-old clock. Remarkable fusion of timekeeping, even celestial wisdom that stood the test of time. Does it look heliocentric to you or geocentric? Geography is called geography with purpose and not heliography. Horizon is called horizon with its purpose, it's horizontal. Airplane is called airplane with a purpose that we are living in a flat plane. I mean, you already let your partner lie to you, the governments lie to you, and NASA too. Come on. You shouldn't drink the whole ocean of lies thinking that the salty taste will taste like sugar. Imagination always creates reality, okay? Now imagine how this world is a flying ball rumbling around, but Polaris and our constellations still remain in the same position. I mean, how many billions of dollars invested in these so-called spaceships just to lie to us that they reach outer space? Unfortunately for NASA and modern astronomers, their theory of spherical Earth does not usually agree with facts because the formula of their curvature has always been found to be utterly fallacious. That's both on land and water. Have you remembered the Lake Baikal, the largest freshwater lake that's located in Russia, with 395 miles long and 49 miles wide and always frozen for 5 months a year? And it is so thick that cars can pass through across its flat surface. It's funny to think that if Earth were globe, there is supposed to be 19 miles of curvature present on the surface of the Lake Baikal. Instead, there is absence of the 19 miles of frozen curvature. Real physicists that can't be bought by governments always knew Earth is flat. Quantum physicists always work off of a flat Earth model. I believe you know aircraft would need to use what they called the dead reckoning. A dead reckoning is when an aircraft loses its communication on any ground tower, and they have to maintain their heading, speed, and altitude until they get reconnected with another land-based tower. If they could communicate through satellites in space, they don't need to use the dead reckoning, yeah? But they do because the satellite on space is a scam. Our space is the ocean, period. And don't forget, astronauts can't be astronauts without scuba diving lessons. Not much people has realized that nearly 100% of transoceanic data traffic is carried by undersea cables. These
Airport, I just took a flight from Atlanta to Toronto, and I specifically picked the window seat because I knew I'd get a chance to see a sunrise. As you can see, I'm looking very touristy with my P900, but what I recorded was 100% proof that the sun is not 93 million miles away, so check it out. So here's the video I took. As you can see, the sun is about to start rising, and it's not even past the horizon. You can see the horizon in the background, and the sun is going to start rising through that thick layer of clouds right there. Now, if the sun is 93 million miles away, it would be rising at the horizon, not in the middle of the clouds right there.
And the sun don't rise, it just gets closer and farther away.
Leaked footage of our flat Earth from 1967. Here you can see a 4-hour time lapse from a satellite of our local sun and moon orbiting Earth. You can see all the land beyond our ice wall.
Look, a real picture of real satellites. They're nothing more than helium balloons.
Satellite, dude. Satellites. The thousands of magical orbiting aluminum tin cans floating in space. It's all animation and games until one comes crashing down on your squad. Many crashed satellites have been reported the world over, and the one thing they all have in common is giant helium balloons attached to them. Of course, satellite technology is real. We get our weather information, communication equipment, and even some internet service from them. Look up Google Loon, for example. It's not that they wouldn't use the magical floating satellites if they could. It's that they don't physically exist, nor does the globe. They have been sending these up one at a time since it all began. I will allow them to explain it.
He got a patent on that in 1950. And those early balloons were so large, they didn't have any way to launch them, except they actually launched them from aircraft carriers.
Modern scientific ballooning was born. It's also the genesis for NASA's newly developed super pressure balloon.
The reason for super pressure ballooning is they have absolutely stable altitude, day, night, and it doesn't matter how cold the atmosphere is. They are sealed.
So your shape is always the same. You always displace the same amount of air, and therefore you have the same amount of buoyancy all the time.
This day-to-night altitude stability allows super pressure balloons and the sun.
Hi, I'm Matt, and this is NASA Now.
NASA's been using balloons for science research for over 30 years.
This is how a satellite launched. A hot air balloon or a helium balloon to provide internet connectivity in some remote area. Worldwide. Some area of the world are so remote that a tower-to-tower radio waves couldn't reach and relate to this area. So they need this helium balloon to provide the internet connectivity in that area. Some skeptics will say that this is just a scientific balloon. No, dude. They don't really need a scientific balloon if there are thousands of satellites in space. There are also drones and aircrafts for science in which they can provide faster and more accurate scientific results than a balloon. As we know for sure, it's nearly 99% data are transferred via submarine cables. That stretches millions of kilometers throughout the world.
Take a look at this. So NASA using long-duration balloons not to spy, but to, well, let's just say science. They fly almost twice as high as the Chinese spy balloon did, around 117,000 feet. Forget about the Statue of Liberty. Actually, some of these are the size of sports stadiums. But what exactly is going on up there in the stratosphere? The Antarctic long-duration balloon campaign, it kicked off this month, launching the first balloon of the season on Monday. Andrew Hamilton is the acting director of NASA's balloon program. He joins us now to talk about this. Andrew, good afternoon. So when we say NASA, a lot of people just think about rockets, but this balloon program, it's some serious business. What's the advantage of using balloons to study space?
Well, balloons...
They've been using balloons to study Earth, not space, and they've been using them.
What about satellites? Did you know that NASA has hundreds of these satellite balloons up in the air right now? I never knew these NASA satellites existed before Flat Earth. Have you seen them? Google and many other companies have fleets of these balloons as well. Look up Project Loon. The fact that NASA and its subsidiaries hardly discuss these so-called satellites was a huge proof for me because it evinces a deliberate effort to conceal the fact that space satellites don't exist. The whitewash of these balloon satellites is evidence that they are lying about space satellites. These high...
went up above the storm and they were filming these things, not knowing really what they are. They're still a mystery to scientists today. Even the people that took these pictures have their interpretations of what they've seen. They really didn't know what it was. They were kind of going with sort of a mainstream narrative. But I'm going to show you this, and when I show it to you and compare it to the footage that you've seen of the firmament from our previous videos, it's going to blow your mind. And I don't know about you, but it's made me emotional. It was kind of hard to even sit down and start this video in the first place. But you can see right here some of their footage of these lightning sprites shooting out of the firmament. When they play it in slow motion and you brighten it, it's very easy to see the structure above us that's been mentioned in the Bible and just read over and ignored for many centuries. I mean, this is something that I don't know how we missed it, but I mean, I do know how we missed it. But look at this footage here of a geyser out in, I believe this is Greenland. And I'm going to compare side by side both of these and just look at it. You can't deny the waters below when you see this. This is something that it's like an exact replica. It's breathtaking. I'm going to leave it up here for you. Just look at it analyze it. Let us know what you think. I can't unsee stuff like this. This is something you just can't unsee. And I just thank the Father for revealing it to all of us as He is, because there is a mountain of lies out there that we have all been exposed to, and there are more to come. So just know the truth about creation. This earth is not moving. There is a firmament above us. We've seen it. It's there. And it's time to find out what our true purpose really is. We are no accident. There was no Big Bang explosion that caused all of this. This is the Father's handiwork.
That was pretty amazing.
You are being lied to because no one has ever been in space. There is a theory that suggests we have never explored space due to a transparent barrier surrounding our world. Beyond this barrier, there is no open space or vacuum, but rather water. It may all sound crazy, but in 1962, the US government detonated a few nuclear bombs in the sky, allegedly to test the atmosphere's reaction to their explosion. So they want us to believe. However, some claim that they were actually attempting to see if they could break through this invisible barrier. Ironically, this program was called Operation Fishbowl.
And after they realized they couldn't break it, they were using the missiles and bombs to map it, to see how high, how far, if it's different heights in different parts of the world. Russia and the United States bombed the firmament for 4 years straight.
This theory is fueled by the observation that many have noticed stars appear to twinkle or shimmer through a liquid-like substance when viewed with the naked eye or through a camera. Rocket enthusiasts have also noted that the rockets we have launched seem to encounter an invisible ceiling, creating an effect similar to what one would observe in water.
You are the one. I don't know about all of this chosen one stuff, but I do know that you are the one. See, you were chosen since birth. And you have full access to everything. And it's all within you.
Do you think that's a piece of the firmament? What do you think?
What actually is the firmament? There has been an ongoing debate between Christians who believe the earth is flat and who believe the earth is a globe on the meaning of Genesis 1:7 that states that God made the firmament and divided the waters above from the waters below. Some take this in a literal sense and see the earth as a flat surface that is enclosed by a physical barrier and that there is water on the other side of this firmament, which explains why the sky is blue. Others take this in a more metaphorical sense and claim that the firmament is in fact our atmosphere.
Well, that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.